Mr. Barrett, 5 minutes. Go ahead.
My question's to Ms. Patel. The YouTube Chief Product Officer, Neil Mohan, in response to Bill C-11, said of the bill, and I quote, "has the potential to disadvantage Canadian creators who build their businesses on our platform," end quote. So can you tell me, Ms. Patel, about the Keep YouTube Yours campaign that was launched in response to Bill C-11?
Of course. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to that. So as you may recall, when C-11 was originally tabled, it was not intended to capture UGC, user-generated content. And that was really important for our creators because creators rely on their content being recommended to audiences who will love it, no matter where they are in the world. So, if you think about Canada is about 2% of the world's population, YouTube has a global audience of over 2 billion monthly logged in users. And that's the market that Canadian creators cared about so deeply. And when we were advocating on C-11, our main message was that we wanted to ensure that we were protecting the creative ecosystem that these creators had built businesses on, really successful businesses. And so it was not about prioritizing, Canadian creators to Canadians. It needed to be about providing, a level playing field for them to find their audiences all over the world. And so that was what we were advocating for.
Right. I know that famed Canadian creators like Margaret Atwood likened this legislation to Soviet-era censorship. So I'm wondering, Ms. Patel, with the bill having been enacted, do you or would you still recommend the repeal of this online censorship bill, C-11, from the Trudeau government?
That's a really great question. We're obviously still in the middle of understanding how the CRTC intends to implement this. Our focus, regardless of the decision of parliamentarians now and in the future, is really on protecting and preserving the ecosystem. So we will engage constructively, whether that's with the CRTC or whether that's with parliamentarians who are reviewing, the future of this legislation.
So I have a question for Meta, and it's about the impact of the Online News Act and the effect that it's having on local journalism. And so I know that I've heard in my community, and I've heard from Canadians across the country that work in the news space, that when this law was passed, that in its form, they then saw their traffic that was coming to them for free from Facebook hit a wall. It dropped right off. In some cases, it caused outlets to lay off journalists. In some cases, it caused them to close. And I just and so I'm curious about if you've measured that impact. But I'd also like to know about the space that it has opened up when reputable and accredited journalists, independent journalists, that space is now being filled by other actors, and the potential for the spread of misinformation in the place of news that was previously being sought out and shared on your platform.
Yeah, I think we disagree with the contention that space has been replaced by misinformation, MP Cooper. What it's been replaced by is content from MP Barrett. Sorry about that. What it's been replaced by is content from our users' friends and families. It's been replaced by content from other pages that they follow, whether those are non-governmental organizations, politicians, civic content.
And in about 30 seconds, if I can just interrupt, and what about the impact on local news?
Yeah, so we signaled to the government well in advance of removing news from our platforms that this was going to be the impact. We said, look, there's going to be a disproportionately negative impact on smaller digital-first publications. We would like to avoid that. We think the value transfer flows the other way. We are providing great value to publishers. Please don't scope us into the bill so that we have to remove news.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Adair, in the United States, your platform has a creator fund. And I know that Mr. Fernandez talked about that aspect of his platform. Can you quickly give us some sense on what the anticipated rollout or any plans to roll that out in Canada would be?
Sure. Thanks for the question. This is something we talk a lot about with Canadian creators. The Creator Fund, or the Creativity Fund as it's called now, is specific to the U.S. and a few other countries. We haven't rolled it out globally yet. It's something we're always looking at ways that we can continue to help creators monetize their content and earn a living on their content. There are quite a number of other ways, though, that Canadian creators are thriving and making money by using TikTok. I know you have a constituent in your riding that I mentioned in my opening statement, Corey McMullen, and he uses it for brand partnerships and to sell his own items directly to his followers. He has an audience of over, I think, 400,000 or 500,000 followers. Live gifting is another major way that Canadian creators are able to monetize their platforms by going live and receiving virtual gifts. So we're constantly looking at ways that we can help our community leverage their audience and earn money or even make a living through TikTok.
Yeah, I appreciate that response.